Hello everybody, it's Jamie from Old Shipping Lines and welcome back to a new video. Now in today's video we shall talk about a wreck, an Italian passenger ferry, the Moby Prince, Italy's worst merchant marine disaster since the end of World War II. Today we shall talk about the Moby Prince disaster. The Moby Prince was initially known as the Dutch vessel, the Queen Juliana. She was owned by Zeeland Steamship Company. She would be built by the shipbuilders Cammell Laird of Birkenhead in England. She was designed to be a car and passenger ferry. Now, if we talk about the specifics of the vessel, the gross tonnage of this vessel would be 6,682 gross registered tons. Her length would be 131.02 meters. The vessel would have a beam of 20.48 meters. The vessel could reach a speed of 21 knots. The vessel was launched in 1967. After her launch, the ship would be used on the Harwich to Hook of Holland route until 1984. On August 30th, 1985, the vessel was sold to Italy. In Italy, she would be owned by the owners, the Navarma Lines, and renamed the Moby Prince. Now, on one voyage, on April 10th, 1991, at 22:03 p.m., the Moby Prince departed from Livorno en route to Olbia for her regular service. On board were 66 crew members and 75 passengers, under the command of Captain Ugo Cessa. As the collision occurred, some of the oil spilled onto the sea's surface, igniting into flames, while the rest was propelled onto the Moby Prince upon impact, fueling a ferocious blaze that swiftly consumed the ferry. During subsequent legal proceedings, it was estimated that between 100 to 300 tons of oil were sprayed onto the ferry. Additionally, the tanker became lodged onto the ferry during the collision. In a bid to disengage, the tanker's commander ordered full power to the engines, inadvertently exacerbating the oil spill. Despite the unfolding chaos, those aboard the Moby Prince had a window of opportunity to evacuate to safety, as the deck became engulfed in flames. However, the inferno breached the ship's interior only after the intense heat caused the massive covers separating the deck from the upper car compartment to collapse. Once breached, the fire advanced towards the prow engine room, momentarily impeded by fireproof doors. It was revealed in subsequent investigations that it took over half an hour for the flames to reach the deluxe hull, designated as the ship's safe meeting point. Rescuers were initially alerted by repeated distress calls from the Agip Abruzzo, but unfortunately, the Mayday signal from the Moby Prince went unheard. The situation remained unclear until 11:35 p.m., more than an hour after the collision, when the wreckage of the ferry was finally located. Tragically, the crew aboard the Moby Prince had no opportunity to cut power to the engines, leaving the ship uncontrollable as it veered away from the crash site, still ablaze, amidst a sea engulfed in flames, further complicating rescue efforts. In a desperate bid for safety, the crew gathered passengers in the deluxe hall located at the ship's prow, anticipating a swift rescue by nearby port authorities. This hall boasted fireproof features such as doors and walls, providing a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Despite the flames fueled by the oil sprayed on the prow, the hall and its occupants remained unscathed as the fire surged past, igniting everything in its path except the hall itself. However, the anticipated rescue was delayed due to miscommunication and confusion surrounding the unfolding disaster. By the time the crew realized that help was not imminent, the hull was surrounded by flames with no viable escape route available, trapping them and the passengers within. The examination conducted on the victims post-mortem revealed a harrowing discovery. Many had succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning, having endured unconsciousness for hours following the outbreak of the fire. The The lethal combination of thick black smoke emanating from both the oil and the ferry's plastic fixtures, exacerbated by gases evaporating from the crude oil, proved fatal for those trapped aboard. As the initial flames engulfed the command deck, the crew was forced to evacuate without disabling the ferry's air conditioning system. Upon inspection of the wreck the following day, it was observed that the fans were still in operation, inadvertently aiding in the dispersion of toxic gases and smoke throughout the compartments not directly impacted by the fire. This unintentional air circulation contributed to the diffusion of hazardous elements, further endangering those aboard the vessel. The aftermath of the incident saw rescue efforts marred by delays and confusion, with subsequent investigations revealing that shortcomings in the rescue operations were a significant contributor to the loss of lives. Initially, rescue vessels from Leghorn prioritized assistance to the Agip Abruzzo, arriving at the scene by 11 p.m. and successfully rescuing all crew members from the tanker. Tragically, the distress signals from the Moby Prince went unnoticed, as they were too faint and distorted for the port authority to comprehend. The distress call from the Moby Prince, though desperate, was plagued by interference.
Mayday. Mayday. This is the Moby Prince. We've been in a collision. We're engulfed in flames. We need firefighters. Please, we're at risk of burning. Mayday. Mayday.
Additionally, Commander Renato Superina of the Agip Abruzzo mistakenly relayed information to rescuers at 10:36 p.m., inaccurately stating that the ship had collided with a Betolina, which is a small service boat used for refueling, urging them to hasten their response to the tanker without confusing them for us. This misinformation was later echoed by the Agip Abruzzo's radio operator, compounding the confusion. It seems like a Betolina struck us. The commander of the port of Leghorn, Admiral Sergio Albanese, swiftly arrived at the scene aboard the Coast Guard vessel CP-250, assuming responsibility for coordinating rescue efforts. Despite his pivotal role, no directives from Admiral Albanese were documented by any participating officer, and his voice was notably absent from the recorded VHF channels that night. Subsequently, Admiral Albanese was promptly cleared of any wrongdoing during the trial, prompting speculation about his sudden appearance and raising suspicions regarding the possibility of clandestine military operations conducted by unidentified vessels in the vicinity. The Moby Prince wreck was discovered over an hour after the collision at 23:35 p.m. by two tugboat operators, Mauro Valli and Walter Mattei. In a dramatic turn, they rescued the sole survivor, Alessio Bertrand, a ship's boy clinging to the stern railing. Bertrand was swiftly transferred to the guardship, which diligently searched for survivors for over half an hour before returning to port to ensure Bertrand received necessary medical attention. Valli and Mattei later recounted Bertrand's heartbreaking revelation: "There is no one to save anymore. They have all been burned to death." As the situation unfolded, tugboats and firefighting vessels were dispatched to the wreck, initiating efforts to cool the hull. At 3:30 a.m. A brave act of heroism occurred when sailor Giovanni Veneruso, aboard a private tugboat, volunteered to board the ferry and secure a tow line, becoming the first rescuer to step foot on the ship following the disaster. However, it wasn't until hours later, in the morning, after the fire on the wreck had been extinguished, that additional rescuers were able to reach the vessel. In the early hours of the morning, a Carabinieri helicopter departed from its base to assist in the rescue efforts, capturing footage of a body lying on its back near the stern of the ship. Surprisingly, the corpse appeared uncharred, despite the surrounding area being severely scorched by the raging flames. Upon the return of the wreck to Leghorn Harbor, firefighters made a grim discovery. The body was found to be completely burned by the intense heat, indicating that many individuals did not perish swiftly in the flames, but rather succumbed slowly to the searing heat and lack of oxygen. This observation sparked extensive debate during the trial. While some experts contended that the body on the deck belonged to a passenger who, having survived the fire and suffocation, attempted to reach the rescue ship at dawn, but was ultimately overwhelmed by the scorching heat emanating from the metal deck. In September 1992, a remarkable discovery was made. A videotape recorded by a passenger just before the collision was found to be in good condition. This footage provided crucial evidence, confirming that the flames and heat were relatively bearable in the areas where passengers sought shelter. It underscored the possibility that a swifter rescue operation could have potentially saved numerous lives. The charred remains of the hull remained anchored at Leghorn until May 17, 1998, when she tragically sank. Subsequently, the rusted wreckage was salvaged and towed to Aliyah, Turkey, where she was dismantled for scrap. The sinking of the Moby Prince stands as one of the most devastating tragedies for the Italian merchant marine since the conclusion of World War II, costing the lives of 140 passengers. Now, after the disaster, there would of course be a trial. The Leghorn public prosecutor initiated proceedings against unidentified individuals for failure to assist and culpable homicide. The first trial began November 29, 1995. Third Officer Valentino Rolla of the Agip Abruzzo, acting commander of the tanker, was charged with multiple counts of culpable homicide and arson. Angelo Cedro, deputy commander of the Port Authority, and guard officer Lorenzo Ceccacci were charged with multiple counts of culpable homicide for delayed rescues. Sailor Gianluigi Spartano faced charges of culpable homicide for missing the ferry's Mayday call. Charges against Navarma owner Achille Onorato and Agip Abruzzo commander Renato Superina were dropped. The trial ended on October 31st, 1997. In a tense courtroom filled with police, jury president Germano Lamberti announced the acquittal of all accused. On appeal, the Third Criminal Court in Florence revised this due to a statute of limitations. In November 1997, 11 Parliament members proposed a new inquiry commission. Besides the main trial, two separate cases were heard in district court. Moby Prince first mate Ciro Di Lauro admitted to tampering with the rudder to mislead investigators, accusing Navarma technician Pasquale Dorsi. Both were absolved of all charges in the trial and two appeals. In 2006, prompted by Commander Chessa's sons, the Leghorn public prosecutor initiated a fresh inquiry into the disaster. Newly discovered images confirmed satellite surveillance of the collision area. By 2009, the victims' relatives urged President Giorgio Napolitano to request from Barack Obama the release of radar recordings, satellite images, and other pertinent information held by American authorities. Additionally, in April 2009, parliamentarian Ermete Realacci advocated for a renewed investigation into the reported presence of other vessels, including those from the U.S. Navy, in the harbor during the disaster. While numerous causes have been suggested as leading to the disaster, the cause of the Moby Prince disaster has not been fully determined. But the recent parliamentary inquiry in 2022 suggests a new potential factor: the presence of a third unidentified vessel that forced the ferry to make an evasive maneuver, leading to the collision with the oil tanker Agip Abruzzo. What we can say is that it is Italy's worst maritime disaster since World War II, costing the lives of 140 passengers. May they all rest in peace.
And that marks the end of a video, my friends. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now, if you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing to the channel, as that would help out the channel a lot. Now, if you have any thoughts, comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section down below, as I absolutely love reading your comments. And please let me know in the comment section down below as well what ships you would like me to cover in the future. Now be as well sure to check out our social media pages. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and we also recently have a website, oldshippinglines.com, where we have articles of the ships we cover and we have book reviews as well. I think you will enjoy the website very much. Now, with that out of the way, guys, I wish you all a good night or day, wherever you are. Stay safe, stay happy, and we will see each other on the next video. Goodbye, my friends.